Hello,
Hi.
everyone! It's Diane, aka the Massage Mentor, and I'm here with Jing!
Yay!
This is so exciting. I mean, I feel so honored. You guys are so hip and cool over there. So I'm gonna allow you both to do your own introductions.
Okay, great. I'm Megan. I'm Rachel. And I think the biggest thing about it is that we've been massage therapists for like 25 years, which is just super crazy. Which is almost impossible to see.
Hard to believe. I know. I was like, oh my God, you must have started when you were 3.
I know, right? And I think, for wherever people are at, I think we'll talk about all our experience and all our history. But I think the big thing is that massage still, the passion is real, and we're feeling really strong. So we're in the UK, although I'm not from the UK.
She's not putting on that accent.
I'm a New Yorker.
And English.
And we met in New York 22 years ago.
22 years ago, that's right.
Where we were working in a spa. Who does that? And together we had a vision and a passion, but maybe never a plan around sharing the most incredible massage education, the most incredible work, both from every corner of the world. So we've been on a journey together to seek education and then to share it. And so now we have a school. Careful what you wish for. So now we have a school in Brighton in southern England, which turns out, on a wing of prayer, is the largest postgraduate education facility.
Thank you.
For sure in the UK, but probably also in Europe, that is completely 100% dedicated to soft tissue and massage work.
Yeah. And we developed the UK's only degree level course in massage. So our graduates do a 3-year degree level course, go up to doing their own original research. Very proud of that. And we wrote a book as well, which I can never find. I'm always before we get into it, I'm like, where's the book? We did write a book. Where is it? Here it is. Look, we found one. There you go.
Congratulations.
So it was a book. So massage fusion. So that's kind of our thing. We bring a lot of different techniques together from all over the world, and different approaches. The Jing Method is not just about soft tissue techniques, which we love, our magic hands, but also around the psychology, self-care, the empowerment. So we really look at an all-round biopsychosocial approach. Is really, with the way we look at treatment and getting results with chronic pain in 1 to 6 sessions. That's what we really want to do. Yeah.
That's okay. So first, I need to know. How did you come with Jing? Jing? I love Jing.
Right.
I looked it up online, and I think I know where it came from. But please tell Jing.
There is a story to it, isn't there?
Yeah.
So originally, right, so we came back in 2001. So we met in the States, right? And I don't know if you guys know, I know a lot of you are watching from the States, but the level of massage training in the UK in the 90s was pretty low. You could get qualified in 6 weekends, right? I went over to the States in 98 because I really wanted a degree level education, which I did in New York. I really wanted to bring that education back to the UK. So me and Meg came back in 2002 and started building up Jing while I was working. She was studying. We were doing 10 million things all at once. So anyway, so we were really busy. And when you're kind of starting a business, you don't really oh God, we've got to give it a name. And I did have a business previously in the UK, which is called Touch. But when I lived in America, everybody was like, you can't call it that because it sounds like tush, which means so I was like, okay, all right. So I've been in touch. So then we came back to the UK. So I was really busy. I was like, all right, we're going to call it Dab Hands. And Dab Hands with a Z, so when
so
people
80s,
start, it was a bad name, but we were really exhausted. It was like, all right, we'll have that name. So the first courses that we ran, we were called Dab Hands, right?
For the magic team. What happened?
And then my dear friend Andrew Dynley, who's an amazing graphic designer who designed all our stuff, I said, can you design a logo for Dab Hands? He was like, no, you can't. That's a really bad name. You can't have it. I was like, okay, whatever. So we sat down, me, Andrew, me and Meg, his partner Andrew. And this is a top tip, Jason, you know, for anybody who's trying to get a name for business. We all thought of like a name, right? Looked it up, most of them are already taken. So we came up with a short list of 5 names. And then we all voted, 1, 2, 3, which is our preference. And when the piece of paper came back, which I still have somewhere, Jing was not anybody's first choice, but it was on everybody's list.
Ah, so that's cool.
That's how it became Jing. And it's life essence in Chinese medicine. So it's the energy for transformation and change, which actually fits really well.
So I'm going to say that again because I think it's really important. In the sense that although it's a really silly story, I think both Rachel and I, without again any great planning, both of our educations to start was in Eastern practice. So my first education was in Shiatsu. Rachel did something called Ama. And so Jing is a Chinese word, which you could have many translations. But the one that we've held on to is it's the energy of life essence that transforms you into what you've always meant to be.
Ah.
Which feels really different than an education provider who makes you something, right? Mm-hmm. And I think all of us would agree you can't make a massage therapist. I think we all show up to this like with a calling. We all show up with an energy that's within us. People call it intuition, people call it all sorts of stuff. But if you've got your Jing, which is the stuff your ancestors gave you, and then you put it in front of some good teachers, maybe some great teachers, who help you shine a light on yourself. You know, you find what's in you, and I think, you know, Jing's like we were saying, you know, loads of awards for academic excellence. We've made all sorts of strides. We set up a revolution in massage therapy around accreditation and recognition within the UK as a proper profession. But at the same time, which was hard for people to get their head around, we also did that with like a lot of heart and with a lot of love and a lot of work of seeing people who want to help people's lives. And I think that is the big thing that continues to happen. So no matter how high your academics are or you're incredible. I mean, this one, her academics, I mean, it's just far beyond it. I mean, I'm still spellbound every day that I get to sit in her presence and she teaches me.
Aww.
But I just feel like it's just this thing around creating space for people to find themselves and then feel confident enough in a skill set that you can then help people help themselves. And I think, you know, that's what massage is. You can't fix anybody. You can't make anybody a massage therapist. You just need a space to become your Jing.
Yeah.
Well, I was when you were saying that, I suddenly thought of Yoda. He said, you must unlearn all that you have learned. So for me too, that's kind of getting to your essence. And also it sounds like, you know, just peeling the layers of what we thought we were and helping people discover what they really are. And I think I've been interviewing people for several years now. I never really heard that, helping people almost to discover and rediscover who they already are. Because you're right, there is something about the massage therapist that massages for 20 years versus the massage therapist who's like, what, I can make $95 an hour? You know? And it's helping them discover that.
And I think that, I mean, it depends on, you know, what people's journeys are and when they found in massage. But I think also there's a lot of work around overcoming the stigma, overcoming like expectations of what that is. Both Rachel and I are big academics and had a real trajectory around academia. And, you know, at some point it was like, are we going to let our families down? You know, what is the world going to think that we are just massage therapists? And I think the moment we grabbed hold of that and thought, this is a decision we're making, like there is no other profession that we would choose to do. And especially because we feel like we could have done anything. And we chose to do this, and we do it so well. And our students, we had an incredible session just before meeting you where we sat and mentored our university level students around their case studies. And the things they're talking about with fibromyalgia, complicated cases around cancer, like really where traditional medicine is really not able to serve, we feel like, okay, Jing, like our Jing therapists are really doing that. So that, it feels like our lives just keep expanding, not only with our own practices, but the practices of the people that we teach.
So one of the things that I'm hearing you say, and that I think is important to note, is, sometimes we kind of like, oh, I'm a massage therapist. We're the only profession that's touched people.
Yeah, exactly.
We're like we probably know the way the human body feels better than anyone, because our hands are actually on human bodies. Doctors now are like, at least here in the States, we're like, I think you need surgery on your shoulder. Not that there's anything wrong with that, and I'm so thankful, right? But I think that back in the 90s when I started doing massage, we were like so hip and cool, and like we were like the new doctor. Massage therapists used to be, something. We were like, and as it's grown, it's kind of done all these weird things. But someone said, and this sums it up for me, I don't know about you guys, but we're one of the last professions on the planet that has total access within reason of the human body, and how cool is that? Like, I don't know, I can touch someone, and by the way their skin's moving, I can tell kind of almost what they're eating, how they're feeling, what a gift that is.
Absolutely. And it's such a profound profession, isn't it? And I think, for me, I mean, I fell in love with massage when I was like 28. I always say it's sort of like the longest love affair of my life, and it's a gift that keeps on, giving, and the ability to, touch somebody with reverence and respect, and to have that as a form of communication. And it, is everything to me. It's meditation, it's service. It's connection with human beings. I just think the simple acts of, we're very big on quality of touching Jing, and, the listening touch. And I hope also one of the things that we do at Jing, you were saying about sort of, learning in the 90s, we've also been around that long, is to really have this lineage of massage, because I think when I first qualified, it was all sort of like unlearn, beautiful flowing, Tai Chi, hippie, connection, all of that great kind of spiritual stuff, which is absolutely really important. And I'm really grateful. We're both really grateful we were brought up in that tradition. But, obviously evidence-based research, I learned very little of AMP, when I first qualified. And I hope what we do at Jing is to sort of like really kind of make a golden linkage, if you like, between those different traditions, through the ages, because massage is something that has existed and still exists, in every culture of the world, and in different forms. It's a really powerful, profound healing modality, and we want massage therapists all over the world to be able to hold their head up high and be proud, and not feel that they have to ape other professions, because I think that happens as well. We're trying to be like osteopaths or chiropractors or physios. It's like we're not physios. This is a totally different profession. And the physios are really happy for us to be a massage therapist. Why can't a massage therapist just be happy for, the physios to be physios? And I think where we bridged that gap was when we turned Jing into also a research institute. So we're also supporting our students to do clinical research and really support that evidence-based library that is touch-based. However, also, which I think is probably our greatest pride, is the last year, where I think, whatever you see of Jing, the outside world can be like, oh, that's just two girls in a massage table. What's going to happen? What's going to happen in a pandemic when you can't touch people? And, we had a moment, and then we thought, let's rally the troops. And we really have spent the last 18 months being awed and inspired about the gift of mentoring people through alternative ways to provide that touch. So where perhaps we always thought was like, this is incredible, but also the therapeutic alliance, right? The research that demonstrates that those relationships
support a better medical outcome for people in chronic pain. And so what a lot of our CPD courses, in England they're called CPD, and they're CEUs, but all of those courses this year has been about how to get those skills out. So it could be an Eastern practice, it could be something like trigger point therapy, it could be myofascial release. How can you work with your clients and your patients to get an outcome through empowerment, through knowledge? And so that's been a massive offering that we've done in the last year and a half.
And I think much more now, in our teaching, we sort of talk about a treatment sandwich. So almost, dividing the treatment up into 3 equal parts. So the consultation, the hands-on, and then the aftercare, and all of those elements being equally as important and as equal skill set to develop and to understand. So in your consultation, yes, developing listening skills, basic, skills around counselling and boundaries and, orthopedic sense, making that really skillful. And as well with the offering of self-care, really understanding about empowerment and locus of control and, which self-care suggestions, are best suited for your clients. And we actually had 2 groups of BTEC. So our BTEC students are university level students, and they do a dissertation in their final year where they do they do research. So they might take a group of 10 people who've got low back pain, treat them with the Jing Method, and measure the outcomes. Obviously, we've now been through 2 lockdowns in the UK where they were not able to offer hands-on treatment. So they've got their their volunteers, they've got all their subjects, they were all ready to go. It's like lockdown, you can't work. So we mentored them to develop self-care, to adapt the Jing Method, to develop self-care online, and brilliantly they all got absolutely amazing results, with things like low back pain, working with women with menopause, fibromyalgia, breast cancer survivor, teaching self-care techniques, education, scar tissue release, self-trigger point, a bit of stretching, a bit of sharing. And I think they were amazed as we are, as that actually, these are, we can get results. We love the magic hands, and that's really important. But actually, a great massage therapist has got this all-round skill set, and that's what makes us different. Yeah. We're not trying to be this, let's cut the body into different little bits. Holism, that's where it is, biopsychosocial model, all aspects are important.
So I hear 2 key points that I just want to wrap back around to is communication, right? Mm-hmm. Communication is big, and then also a blend. It sounds like a blend of different approaches and techniques for students and getting them to try different things with the Jing Method. Yeah. Would you say that, because I don't hear you it doesn't sound like you believe that you can just teach a technique and say, do this, this, and this.
Well, and
I agree.
There would only be one. Yeah, that's right.
This whole process of blending and communication.
So I think, the title of the book, which is Massage Fusion, addresses that, right? The fusion of techniques. And I think for Rachel and I both, our practices were like that. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure many people's practices are like that. But most often they felt like they were taking from one and another and having to put it together. And when we started teaching, we were always really clear that what we teach is really from those who've come before us. So, Janet Travell's trigger point therapy and the great masters shiatsu, like Rachel and I didn't make any of this up. But we were able to take those ingredients and make a really good cake, and a cake that is really easy to deliver. So the Jing Method kind of came from our students who said to us, like, well, it's a Jing massage. We thought, there's no such thing as a Jing massage. What is that? It was like, well, you clearly have a methodology. And so we unpicked that, and then the book was a result of that. So the book is around the techniques that we use. So the method involves ama, so, some shiatsu, some pressure point work around the traditional Chinese medicine system. Stretching, so sports stretching work and PNF work and that kind of thing. Myofascial work, trigger point work. I'm always feeling and the idea that you're working all the muscles around a joint, and that we teach people to work on the 6 sessions. But also, Rachel and I have a massive background in psychology, Rachel was a social worker. I did my first degree in psych. So that biopsychosocial model in the consultation process really links up with an Eastern approach, right? What Rachel's saying, the holism.
Right.
So the Jing method, it really brings sort of a Western perspective that we think is sort of a reread of an Eastern philosophy. And where you could, we've all seen it, people show off of one fancy technique and they rename it, after their great grandfather or whatever. It's a bit like, well, if, always it's a rewrite, like there's nothing kind of new out there. But also it's around kind of saying, well, what is the outcome here? Are we all dealing with hamstring strains? But a hamstring strain for somebody who's 23 and a great athlete or a weekend warrior is different than a hamstring strain is somebody who also has rheumatoid arthritis and,
Yes.
Yeah. And, I think the neuro understandings around chronic pain, I mean, it's saying neuro in the terms of like neuroscience has proved what we've been saying for a long time, but, the understanding of how the body works in chronic pain and that a lot of the time, there's not necessarily an issue in the tissues. And also blending, our good old techniques for relaxation, understanding the impact of central sensitization. And I actually think for quite a long time, body work has almost been sort of taken over a bit by this kind of like structural, almost engineering model, that I will put something back in place, but that's not how chronic pain works. It's much more complex than that. So we really need this understanding and working, with a whole person.
Like with the myofascial thing, it's like, why are we separating Barnes from Rolfing? Like, why do we have to do that all the time? It's like, why can't we just sort of explore all of it and honor those who've given us that gift and then move it sort of in a different way and make it your own?
Well, that's so true.
Sorry. But I think the method really came about from our own experience. I'm sure like you, I went on loads of courses and the person who taught it was like, this is the one great technique and this is going to fix everybody. You're like, oh, great, amazing, I'm going to fix all my clients. Then you go out and it doesn't, or it fixes a few of them, but then you get someone else with the same thing and it doesn't work. So, really through our clinical practice, and I think most experienced practitioners do this, you try out different things, you understand that some things work better with some conditions, than others, and you kind of develop your own kind of method of working. And I think what we did was we deconstructed the way we worked and were able to we were able to teach it to other people. Because often I think good practitioners, they're like, well, I just don't know what I do and I don't know how I do it. But I think if we did have a genius, it was being able to be like, well, this is how you can do what we do. So
and get results and build a business.
This will get you to where I got to a lot quicker.
We want everybody to get there faster.
Yeah.
Because it took us a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say that a lot. It's so true.
Yeah.
I've just, I've done this. I've walked the trail. I'm not saying you have to do it exactly like I did it, but I can save you a lot of trouble, probably.
Yeah, I know. Well, the teacher's job is to shorten the journey, right? We take that really seriously, and we've both bashed our heads against a lot of brick walls and spent a lot of money on things that have not been particularly useful. So we only teach the stuff that is really useful.
We've laughed a lot.
Yeah. So too, I always like to, there's certain key things I hear so you would say too, that was 3-year challenges and your mishaps that helped you really find your direction too.
Yeah, always, right?
So that's, it's good that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's funny to even think about that term because actually that's not even a part of my vocabulary because it never felt like a mishap, right? It always felt like a gift or a different angle. We have lots of funny stories about, where we've trained and what we've done and what our expectations are. I won't even go into when Rachel took me to Thailand and I thought I was going to be on a sunny beach and I was massaging in the trees and mud. But all of that kind of gave us, a way in. And I think because we're happy and joyous, I think when we started our massage school in the UK, people couldn't quite take us seriously. And I think that's also been I think that's probably been the most challenging thing, that it was like the perception that joy and levity couldn't also be serious. And so when we were asked to do things like sit on the board of the national organization that would look towards accreditation within the UK, or we were kind of getting those accolades, it was sort of hard for people to get their head around, because it was like, yeah, but they're having so much fun. Like, how can they be really serious? How can they be scientists when they're asking you to ground, when we're bringing Tai Chi into the teaching? And so that's been an interesting thing around paving your own path and holding. And I think we lost our way a little bit sometimes. I'm not going to say that there weren't voices that felt a little bit loud, that we felt, oh, we have to capitulate. But I think what age and time has given us is that our voice is really an important one, and it's not necessarily the voice for everyone. And I think that Jing, both in the UK and internationally, brings a lot of things. And in fact, we were talking about how these things happen. Tilda Chow, we sat with him like maybe 3 or 4 years when he came to visit, and we were saying, oh, we'd love to come back to teach, in the States. Like, we'd love to teach. And he was like, the schools are gone. Like, what you have provided, like, you own your own school, you have your own institute of research, all of your students, even when there's 20,000 students, we can find them all, we know them all, we're engaged in all of their work. That feels quite extraordinary to kind of reflect upon. So the kind of interesting things around international conferences is really great, because you kind of meet very, very like-minded people doing their own ways.
I love see, for me too, it's important to kind of have a nice mix of it all and not forget one side or the other side with the Tai Chi and stuff, because it's survived this long for a reason.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's been around quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of time. So is there anything else that you want to let us know before we start to wrap up?
There's loads of stuff.
I know.
It's around accessing us, so it sounds like we'll be doing some work with you also. You'll be able to find us there. But the Jing website, which is called www.jingmassage.com, there's loads of stuff on there. And one of the funniest things we've ever done was Jing TV. And so I
saw that. I want to see that. I didn't click on it.
The thing about the web is it all can be out there, and it's years gone by. But that was sort of our first foray into teaching online. They're like 6-7 minute episodes. I think our funniest one is why we don't play Enya in the treatment. But I think there's loads of stuff on there that's all free that people can access. I think if you dig deep enough, and also that website was made also like 15 years ago. So it's a little digging around. But you can find online courses, you can find a mentorship program. I think if you're looking for who we are, just look big. I think that's the thing. I think the joy is really strong, but there's such amazingly informative things around how to treat a specific pathology, how to deal with chronic pain. And I think probably that is the thing that we're most famous for and proud of, which is that people come to study with Jing to understand chronic pain conditions, not necessarily one technique, but how to treat a whole person, but also be really business minded. And I think that was also a difference between, you can learn from your heart, but please make it your work. And I think what Rachel and I can say is, in those 25 years, this is what we've been doing. Like, we haven't made a dime out of anything else. And you can look at our CVs with all our big fancy degrees, but it's massage that's made us happy. It's provided homes. It's let us travel our world. And so that's extraordinary. So if anybody's looking for a bit of inspiration around that and thinking, is it possible? It's totally possible.
Totally possible. Yeah, absolutely. Best thing we ever did, best career in the world, best community.
You just gotta believe in it.
We're still passionate about it all these years on, and there's so much to learn. Yeah, just come hang out with us. There's so many ways. Just like we do stuff. Sign up for the mailing list. This is the last 30 years of my head. It's like
I took all the pictures.
I took the pictures.
So good.
So if you like what I was saying, just connect with us, and we'd love to connect with a more international community, and our students would love to connect internationally. So sign up for the mailing list. It's on the front page of the website, and keep informed.
Thank you for hanging out. You'll be back. Won't you be back?
We'll be back.
And talk to
Yeah.
me. You'll come back and talk to me. I'll post all your information so everyone can find you. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah.
If you would hang tight.
And thank you for what you're doing for the massage community. We
Aw.
really appreciate it.
It's a big thing.
It's a big thing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And you're doing it really well.
Thank you.
Making international links is fantastic.
We're just making things
so
accessible.
It's so exciting. I mean, it's really cool. Like you said, it's just so refreshing to see so many like-minded people.
Exactly.
And when I hear you talk, I'm like, it feels so good, and it feels like it's reaffirming my whole journey. Like, you know, it's just really nice. You guys are doing great things over there, and you deserve to be known and heard and seen. So, thank you for all your hard work. I know it's been joyful, but it's not always easy. So thank you for all your hard work. Thank you for your hard work and your dedication to our community. Hang tight. We're going to end now. Thank you guys, and enjoyed.